So, ladies and gentlemen, really, this episode, if you have to rephrase it, I would call it rethink, restart, and refresh. And really, what is he going to be taking us through is a topic of how do you respond to uncertain environments. We know the current environment is uncertain in so many ways. So I'm actually quite excited about what Mr. Gulwa is going to share with us. Please, as he speaks, think about the questions, pose the questions so that we can be able to have an insightful conversation, take notes home, implement those in our businesses, be successful for yourself, for your communities, and for Sasol. Mr. Gulwa.
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much, Sasol, for this invitation. I feel honored. I feel privileged. So I've prepared quite a bit of content, and I'm hoping that I did not over-prepare. I'm getting a sense that I've got 2 hours worth of content, while I've been given only 30 minutes. So we will try and go through some of the slides very quickly. And I'm sure you guys will get the slides pack for your own reading. Just by way of intro, the name is Mzo Gulwa. I'm the founder and the CEO of a company called Purple Growth. Purple Growth is involved in 3 areas of business: management, consulting, training, and executive coaching. I'm also deeply involved in the teaching or lecturing space at 3 business schools. That's Business School, UCT, Graduate School of Business, and also the new MBA at Johannesburg Business School. My areas of interest are mainly strategy, leadership, industry analysis, and culture in organizations. So thanks once more for the opportunity. Let's go through the content. I will try to make it as painless as possible by going through some of the content as quickly as we can. And I'm also going to be sharing my own experiences, linking it into some of the content. So a lot of this content is coming from my research on this topic of uncertainty. A lot of it is thoughts that have been shared by leading academics globally, by leading commentators, by consulting firms such as Deloitte, McKinsey, and a few others. So I've combined all of those thoughts to put together this information. So I'm not claiming for this content to be mine. Okay, so the topic I'm going to be speaking about is around uncertainty, which has been created by the COVID-19 pandemic. My specific focus, however, will be giving you guys practical tips in terms of how to relook or rethink your business model, or the overall strategy and the direction of that business. So I'll be giving you some practical tips and approaches in terms of how to deal with this uncertainty as a business. So I understand that we are talking to about 300 or even more business owners across the country, potentially across the world, and I'm hoping that you will find some relevance in the content we are about to share. Thank you very much. I think something everyone knows very well is that what we are going through is unprecedented. We have never seen this before. Even a lot of historians, they say this does not match even the world wars that we've seen, and a number of other disasters or crises does not come close to COVID-19 pandemic. And it's also predicted that this generation will never see anything like this again. So this is game-changing for everyone, for governments, for organizations, for large businesses, but mainly for us as well, small businesses. Totally unprecedented. And you know this already. We always say business will never be the same. We're already seeing a lot of trends before COVID-19, but COVID-19 has brought in a lot of the changes in a number of industries. A number of industries were being disrupted already, but COVID-19 accelerated that as well. So a lot of top executives in large organizations, business owners, whether it's small businesses or medium-sized businesses, are walking a very tight rope as we speak on a daily basis. They are dealing with this issue of uncertainty. And the problem with uncertainty is it brings in a lot of risk. So we have to look at it from that perspective, but at the same time, if you are looking very closely, if you're paying attention, you will also be able to pick up a lot of opportunities even during this difficult time. We know that some of the businesses across the world in a number of industries have actually made a lot of money out of this crisis. So we're trying to say, even though this uncertainty has brought in so much risk, at the same time, there is so much opportunity as well. So part of this conversation today is to encourage you to push ahead and also identify and take advantage of opportunities in the space you're in, but also think about other industries that you might want to explore as well. So some of the questions that business owners like yourself are dealing with on this topic of uncertainty is what is going to be the impact of COVID-19 on my business going forward. We've seen what it has done, we've seen the damage it has done, but people are talking about third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave, with our government taking forever to roll out the vaccines. We just don't know what this means for our businesses. So we are sitting in a bit of a limbo, hence this concept of uncertainty. Even in terms of the economy, no one can tell you what kind of growth can we expect as far as the economy in the next year or so. There's always a competition. We are facing new competition. Existing competitors are changing their business models, are improving their business models. We're facing a new type of competition during this time. So as a business owner, you're facing all of these dilemmas, and all of this is really increasing the uncertainty that you are in, which bring in risk. But as we said, keep in mind, there is also opportunity. The last question there is quite critical. And that's a question I want you guys to think about. The first question to think about today. To say, as a business, what internal capability will you need to build for you to future-proof your business? Have you thought about that? Have you spent the last 12 months or so since the first lockdown thinking about what do I need to do? What kind of capacity, from a skills point of view, from a technology point of view, and whatever else that you need to do for you to future-proof your business, for you to succeed, for you to ride the wave and hedge your business in a way to make sure that in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time, you are still in business? That's a very important question I need you guys to reflect on. What internal capability will I need to build for me to future-proof my business? I had a look at PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Annually, they release this survey where they interview CEOs from across the world, and they ask the CEOs what are they most concerned about at a particular time. So 2021 results are out. This is a global view. I'm sure it's not too different if you look at a South African view, but globally, CEOs are very concerned about the pandemic and the health crisis their countries and the markets they operate in are going through. But interestingly, there are other issues that no one is really talking about. For example, cyber threats remain a massive issue. If you look, for example, in terms of the Cold War between countries, America, for example, versus Russia, or America versus China, the issue of cyber threats remains a big threat. But for our businesses as well, it's something we have to keep in mind and not only obsess about the uncertainty brought in by the pandemic. The issue of the uncertain economic growth is also scoring fairly high at 35%, climate change there as well. So these are some of the things that top CEOs are concerned about. And for some of you who are serving these large organizations, you might also want to keep that in mind so that you remain relevant in terms of whatever services that you provide. But also as an owner of a small business, I'm sure you do worry about some of these things. They do bring this concept of uncertainty close to your door. People speak about VUCA, and I like this VUCA concept, which has been around for some time, but it's also been accelerated by COVID-19. VUCA is a way of describing the difficult operating environment that business finds itself in. V is for volatility, which speaks about the speed of change. There is so much change, and the speed has been accelerated. This issue of uncertainty comes in, and if you want a definition, uncertainty is lack of predictability in issues and events, which make it difficult for us to see future outcomes or make decisions. This is quite important. As a business owner, you are required to make decisions almost on a daily basis. Some of these decisions are fairly tactical or operational in nature, but you are also making big decisions in terms of what spaces to enter, where to put your money, how much of investments to make, what kind of capability to build. So as you make those decisions, it becomes a bit difficult when there is uncertainty in the air. Complexity is brought in by the volatility in terms of speed of change, but also uncertainty. But complexity is about the fact that you are dealing with so many things at the same time. There's the pandemic, there's the economy, which is not growing, there's competition, there are changing customer needs, which you might not be ready for, and all of that. So it's quite complex these days to run a business successfully. It's quite complex to make sound decisions for your business, and also ambiguity, which speak about lack of clarity. So I love the concept of VUCA because it really describes and summarizes the environment that you are finding yourself in as a business. And think about that as we move on. And then quickly, a lot of executives, business owners are responding some in ideal ways, but we also see some business owners that need to check themselves in terms of how they are responding to this crisis or to the uncertainty brought by COVID-19 or uncertainty overall. A group of business owners, for them, the first thing they do is to recognize the existence of the uncertainty, the depth of it, the complexity it becomes, but they don't do any good thing about it. They just become paralyzed. Is that how you feel? A lot of business owners have said they have become paralyzed. They only woke up after some time, and some of the competitors were already a bit ahead. And you find that they, at the end, make erratic decisions that don't take the business too far. Some business owners are overconfident in terms of their outlook. They say, yeah, things will be fine, and so on. It's fine to be optimistic, but we need to be real as well. We need to have insight. We need to base our feelings on some sort of data and insight in terms of the kind of future that we are facing. I can tell you now, if you are misinformed in terms of your understanding of uncertainty, you're going to end up like the likes of Nokia. You know the stories. You'll end up like the likes of Kodak. Businesses that underestimated the changes at that time, and as a result, they were left behind. You don't want to be in that space. Okay, think like Amazon. Amazon took full advantage of this wave, and they've made sure that they've made more money than before, they are more successful than before, and hopefully they will contribute to the communities they operate in more than before. Okay, so very quickly, one of the things that you want to be able to do is scenario planning. So in other words, you need to be futuristic in your thinking and think about what kind of futures can we expect in our industry, and what will this mean for the business and the direction it is taking. And when you think about the future, don't only think about one future, hence the concept of scenarios. Think about 2, 3, or 4 futures and say, if this kind of future were to play out, what will we need to do for us to survive and thrive in that kind of environment? If this future B, is to play out, what will that mean for us, and what we'll need to do? So this is fairly complex, but when you've got time, if you have not done so already, read more about scenario development, read more about futuristic thinking. It's very important for us as business owners to be big picture thinkers who don't only think about now, but also think about the future. When you think about the future, you're thinking about the future of your industry, the future of your business, and you are then able to use that foresight in terms of the plans that you put together for your business. So I need to see a scenario development being part of how we do things in the business. So think about that and see what you can do about it. So there's quite a bit of benefit for business owners when you understand scenarios, when you have built foresight in terms of the future of your industry. Some practical questions that you could ask almost on a daily basis. Maybe bring in one or two of your colleagues, bring in one or two external consultants, and reflect on these kind of questions. Doesn't have to be daily. Maybe every second, third, fourth week. Think about some of these questions. For example, how will supply chains in your sector or industry evolve, and what will that mean for your business? What will the talent models of the future look like? So in other words, what kind of people will you need to bring? What kind of people will be required for a business like yours for it to succeed? And are you building that talent internally already? What might change in terms of the customer, in terms of how you reach the customer, how you engage the customer? For example, in the space I'm in, from a training point of view, that industry is now more online. We're delivering a lot of the courses online, and we expect more changes going forward. The more technology that becomes available, the more the customers become tech-savvy, the more you will see more advanced approaches to online education. So think about your industry in terms of the customer, what will change in terms of how best to reach and engage the customer, even customer expectations. Right? In 2, 3, 4 years or 5 years' time, will your customers be requiring the same things they require today? How will their needs evolve over time? And obviously, technologies, business models, how will these change in your sector? And what does that mean for your business? So some very practical a lesson there. And we always say, confront uncertainty head on. How do you do that? By making sure that you're part of your culture, not just yourself as the business owner, but also your team. Everyone thinks about the future. In your team meetings, the conversation is not just about now, but the future as well. That's part of confronting uncertainty in terms of being futuristic, right? And as part of doing that is to make sure that the decisions that you make, especially those medium to long-term decisions, are informed by your foresight, the foresight you've built in terms of your scenario development. And over time, you will find that you are making competitive decisions that put you in a very good space, that make you more attractive with your customers. You are more clear in terms of your planning, your objectives, your goals as a business. Part of how to beat uncertainty is to bring clarity. And you, as the business owner, you are the one who is mainly expected to bring that clarity to the teams that you work in. Not only your teams, but also to your customers. Some of your customers need your advice. Some of your customers can benefit from the foresight that you're going to build around your sector. So you'll benefit a great deal if you confront uncertainty and build it into your decision making. A very quick case that I had a look at. I mean, this article was released literally last night, and the title of it, I think it was IOL, the title was Traveler Behavior Drives New Trends in the Hospitality Sector. So we know that it's a sector which has been hit very hard by COVID-19, but interestingly, those who are positioning themselves and aligning themselves to the brighter future of that industry, because we know that industry will recover, they are already looking at the future trends and are aligning that to their current strategy as they are building capability. They are building capability that will speak to these trends. They want to take advantage of these future trends. For example, in that hospitality sector, we are told that there's an increase in online bookings. I think we all expected that. Self-catering is surpassing hotel stays. Hence, the Airbnb model has been very successful. Increase in advanced booking. That's an interesting one. People want more outdoor events. So if the hospitality company runs events, these will need to be outdoor for obvious reasons. There's also increasing demand for these hospitality companies to help organize hybrid conferences like this one. We're here in the venue, you're sitting wherever you are, so there's more demand for hospitality companies to organize this type of hybrid and also maybe mainly virtual conference setups. Question now becomes, if you are in that industry, what are you doing to take advantage of these trends? Now that you know and you're familiar with these trends, question is, does your strategy speak to that? Are there specific objectives in your strategy that speak about how you're going to take advantage of those trends? So please do the same for your industry. Have a look at the future trends and ask yourself, does my strategy align with that? Okay, so if you look at this issue of COVID-19, I want to give you more practical tips or approaches as far as strategy is concerned. You know that strategy is a massive topic. We could speak about it the whole day and we'll still not finish, right? But you might want to look at this in phases, because even the pandemic itself is playing itself out in phases, including its implications on the economy. So I think we have all passed phase one. I think most countries have gone past phase one in terms of economic lockdown. In fact, even India, which is being hard hit by the pandemic, is saying to us, yes, we might be reporting 400,000 cases a day, but we will not lock down the economy. So I think most countries have gone past that, where cases go up and then the economy goes down. And then phase two, I think, is where we are. Right? Phase two is now being referred to as the next, and from a strategy point of view, it's all about you as a business preparing strategies or thinking about the future in terms of how will your business deal with all of these changes, deal with the uncertainty and all of that. And then soon, I think some of the industries have already entered phase three in this model from Accenture, the consulting company. They call the phase two the never normal. So from a strategy point of view, businesses are expected to create radical new operating and business models to compete in a market that will change forever. I've seen quite a few changes in terms of business models. For example, in the financial services sector, Standard Bank was one of the first to announce that they are going to be a platform business. You know, this thing of ecosystem, where you take advantage of your customers, your suppliers, and you look at not just the industry you're in, but you ask yourself, which other players, stakeholders are connected to this industry, are connected to my customers, and then you have a business model or strategy that speak to tapping into that through partnerships and through taking advantage of platforms. If we had the whole day, we'll speak about that. But all we're saying is, for you to succeed going forward, you might have to radically change the operating model of your business. I've done the same with Purple Growth. One day I will tell you all the stories about that. And as you think about strategy, balance both short-term tactics and, more importantly, what you might need to do in the long term. This could include committing some of your money to long-term initiatives that will only benefit you in a year or two or three. So don't only think about now. Obviously, if you are very limited in resources, you can be forgiven for focusing on the short term. But for those of you who are lucky to have enough resources, place some of those resources, especially financial resources, allocation of projects to your team. Think about the long term, not just about now. Many of you have seen this model that says, as we recover from this crisis, it's mainly 3 stages: respond, recover, and thrive. We have all gone through respond, where we're fighting fires. We are done with that. And many of us now are in the recovery mode, where we are learning new ways of doing things, and we're also preparing for the next in terms of making sure that we thrive beyond the pandemic. Okay, so very quickly, guys, don't have a lot of time to unpack this model. You might look at it this way. In fact, I won't have too much time for it. But this is a nice tool in terms of planning for the future. A big part of it is reflect in terms of understanding where you are now, what you need to do, who are you serving, or who are you going to focus on from a customer point of view? What is that customer asking for? How are their needs changing as impacted by COVID-19? And the second piece there being about you sorting out your cash flow, making sure that you've got cash for short-term commitments and potentially for long-term commitments as well. So many of us, I think, have done that. It was part of the fighting fires. Think now about restart. Don't be scared to say, I'm relaunching the business, I'm restarting the business. Part of it is to look at new supply, relook your supply chain, including the partners you work with, the kind of people that you bring into your business, and all of that. Rethink how you run things from an internal point of view, how you tap into your capacity, the kind of people you bring in, the skills they've got, and all of that. So restart is mainly about those 2 things: reorganize and also rethink. Then the last one, revitalize. This one is very important. For those who are going to succeed, revitalize means think digitally. Almost every industry, almost every type of business can benefit here. COVID-19 is asking for us to rethink our business models and think about digitizing the internal processes, the customer touch points, and all of that, and also relook your workplace. So it's quite a very important model in terms of how to think about your plan. I want to see you guys coming up with strategies, if you don't have one, that speak to these 3 areas as well. Resilience becomes important. Only those who are resilient will succeed. And if you want a definition of resilience, it is the ability to find the inner strength to bounce back from a setback or a challenge. So many of you remain in business. Many of you have your doors open, which means you are benefiting from being resilient. Continue with that. Those who are going to benefit from this uncertain future that has a lot of risk but a lot of opportunity are those who are resilient. Yes, so thank you very much. I hope you gained something from that, a lot of content. We will make sure to share the slides so that you can see some of my hidden slides, or 1 or 2 slides that I went through very quickly. So yeah, regardless of what kind of business you are, I hope you gained something from today.